unsettling, almost uncanny feeling I received from my reading was the main reason I knew I had just enjoyed a great, timeless novel. Fahrenheit 451 did nothing short of providing me with a substantial supply of food for thought that is surprisingly relevant to our present-day society, despite the fact that the book was written in the early 1950s. Some of these relevant themes include the use of our media and technology and the restriction of free speech. I will go into that in more detail in the analysis. Other than these chilling yet intriguing themes, the book was overall enjoyable to read. The plot was interesting, and I particularly enjoyed Ray Bradbury's strong knack for creating symbolism in both objects and characters. The ways the characters interacted and changed throughout the novel was ingenious, and was my second favorite aspect of the novel behind the societally relevant themes. Once again, I will go over that in more detail in the analysis. Today I will be dividing the analysis into a couple different sections comprised of aspects of the novel that I deemed worthy for discussion. I'm going to start off with a little Fahrenheit 451 101 for all my listeners who are not familiar with the novel. I will follow that with sections regarding the characters, symbols, themes, literary devices, and what we can learn from the novel. Enjoy! For those of you that have not yet experienced the pleasure of reading this novel, it is about a futuristic society where firemen burn books and people who possess books are arrested because sameness and thoughtlessness are pursued and enforced by the government. In this society, books are full of ideas and are therefore dangerous. The novel follows Guy Montag, a fireman who starts to read the books he burns and questions the status quo of his society. Literary devices that are prevalent throughout this novel are symbols and figurative language, especially similes. His similes are remarkably well crafted because they form vivid sensations and images in the reader's head. On page 89, Bradbury describes Mildred and her friends as like a monstrous crystal chandelier tinkling in 1,000 chimes. And on page 39, Bradbury described Montag and Mildred's sleeping arrangement as follows. He lay across the room from her on a winter island, separated by an empty sea. I will go into the symbols in just a moment after I discuss the characters. Ray Bradbury does a fantastic job conveying his points through his characters. Montag is the main character in the novel. He starts out as a fireman who is totally controlled by the government, just as many others were. When he starts thinking, however, he becomes disillusioned with his society and passionately attempts to take action to make a change, despite being unprepared and poorly informed. Captain Beatty is Montag's boss, who is very calculating, well-read, and intelligent. However, he is a full supporter of the society he lives in. He uses his abilities as an informed individual who is very well-spoken to attempt to persuade Montag that the society they live in is ideal. Faber is a former professor who silently protests the government. He hates what happens in his society, but his whole life he has let cowardice get the best of him and has never taken action. The argument could be made that although he is not considered a bad or evil character, he is a foil to Montag, since they are opposites in many ways. Montag is not prepared or informed well enough to make a change, but is willing to make a change, while Faber is most definitely informed, but is too scared to take any action. Mildred, Montag's wife, and all of her friends represent the majority of society who are incapable of thinking critically and let simple and immediate pleasures overtake their need to form opinions and analyze what they experience. They follow the government blindly, believing that they are happy, even though they do things like attempt suicide. Granger and his crew were homeless nomads who lived in the wilderness who each had a book memorized with the hope of passing it on in the future. This group of people had a hope for a better future that contrasted with Faber's cowardly and consenting attitude. In addition to these beautifully crafted characters, Bradbury weaves symbolism into several objects as well. Fire is used in two contrasting ways in this book. The government used it to incite fear, hatred, and conformity, while Granger and his friends used it to unite themselves and provide warmth. The mechanical hound and the electric-eyed snake were robots used by the government that had no control over what they did, what they fixed, and who they killed. which paralleled with Mildred, her friends, and the majority of society who thoughtlessly followed the government with no self-generated opinion on or control over what they did and witnessed. Some of the prevailing themes in this novel are courage versus cowardice, accepting versus questioning, government oppression, and the numbing of the masses. Ray Bradbury wanted his readers to recognize the importance and immediate need for humans to think critically and question what they're fed, including the government, their friends, societal norms, everything really. This goes along with the previously mentioned theme of numbing the masses. In the novel, all of the sheep-like citizens believe they are happy and content with their lives just because the government simply tells them they are. No one ever questions this because the government had set up society in such a way that people were constantly having fun and being distracted by media and technology so that they never had time to think things over. There was, however, a stark juxtaposition between how the government told the people they felt and how they really felt. For instance, Mildred attempted suicide, Montag realized he was depressed and lonely, among other similar events. Montag never thought about anything prior to meeting Clarice, a girl who challenged the status quo, and he quickly realized that she was nothing like the dangerous monster his society taught him individuality was supposed to be. At this point, Montag started to realize how everything he had been taught lacked credibility, and began to thirst for information so that he could begin to analyze his world. Bradbury wants people to read, think, and question what they see and hear all the time so that our society doesn't fall into a state where people follow blindly like sheep. The reason that this is a bad type of society to live in is provided by all the heinous aspects of Montag's world in the novel. Bradbury also wants his readers to stand up for what they believe in. This hits on the theme of courage versus cowardice. During dark times, humans have a choice between doing what is right and what is easy. Bradbury utilizes Faber to demonstrate the easy decision and Montag to describe the right decision. One of Bradbury's main lessons for his readers is that when rights are infringed upon, don't cower like Faber. Take a stand like Montag did. And on that note, thanks for watching.